In life, when we face struggles, we often seek someone to confide in, someone to pour out our heart to. It feels natural there's relief in sharing burdens and expressing what weighs on our souls. But let's pause for a moment and consider, are we confiding in the right place? When problems arise, our first response shouldn't be to broadcast them to the world or even to those closest to us. Rather, it should be to confide in God first, for in Him lies the ultimate wisdom, compassion, and the purest of solutions. When we bring our struggles to God before anyone else, we are making a powerful declaration of faith. We are saying, God, I trust you more than anyone on this earth. I trust you with the things I don't understand, with the things that are tearing me apart. I believe you know the way forward, even when I cannot see it. This act of trust does more than comfort us, it transforms us, aligning our hearts and minds with God's divine wisdom. Unlike others, God is unchanging, constant, and perfectly capable of carrying the weight of our troubles without judgment or partiality. People, as loving as they may be, can misunderstand or misuse our vulnerability, but with God, our trust is safely placed. He won't betray it, He won't twist our words, and He won't abandon us. His guidance is pure, and He promises to lead us with love. When we resist the urge to immediately share our struggles, we give ourselves the gift of processing them. Often, when we write down our thoughts and struggles, we gain insights that talking doesn't provide. Writing allows us to be honest with ourselves, to see our thoughts laid bare, and to gain a perspective that can be lost in conversation. In this quiet space, we may discover answers that surprise us or see a path forward we couldn't see in the noise of verbal processing. Writing to God can become a sacred conversation, one where we pour out everything without fear, where we ask questions, where we pause to listen to the whispers of His response. And in that act of writing, of bringing our thoughts into order, we find clarity. Our worries lose their power as we put them into words, as we begin to understand that God has been with us in every moment, guiding us toward peace. This isn't to say we should never seek counsel or the support of loved ones. There will be times when sharing with a trusted friend, mentor, or spiritual leader is wise and necessary. But we should remember to approach others after we have first brought our concerns to God, allowing Him to bring calm and clarity to our hearts. Confide in God first. Trust in the power of writing and reflection, and know that your deepest struggles are safe in His hands. Let God be your refuge, your source of strength, and your guide through every storm. Placing your trust in God first is an act of radical faith that shapes how you approach every challenge, every joy, and every unknown in life. It's a bold step, one that often feels counterintuitive, especially when we're conditioned to seek validation, solutions, and comfort from the world around us. But trusting God first is about knowing deeply and intimately that He is the one foundation that doesn't shift or crack under pressure. It's acknowledging that the only one who truly sees the full story, your past, present, and future, is God. When you decide to trust God first, you're choosing to lean into a relationship that doesn't require you to be anything other than who you truly are. You don't have to bring solutions, pretense, or even eloquence. God invites you to come with your doubts, fears, and questions. He wants you to bring it all, just as you are. Trusting God first means you're showing up vulnerable, releasing the grip on controlling outcomes, and acknowledging that there is a wisdom, love, and purpose that surpasses your understanding. Trust in God opens a gateway to peace because it shifts the burden of figuring it all out away from you and places it in the hands of someone infinitely capable and loving. This doesn't mean that life suddenly becomes simple or that solutions appear overnight. Rather, it means you have a steady, unshakable foundation beneath you. It means that even in the dark, you know you are held and that the unknown is not so terrifying because God is present in every moment. When you trust God first, you're placing your life into the hands of someone who doesn't just care about the outcome, but cares deeply about the journey. God sees the growth, the strength, the courage, and the resilience that emerge through struggle. He's not just interested in fixing things, He's interested in guiding you, refining you, and walking beside you. Trusting Him first redefines your sense of security. It's no longer found in what you can control or predict, but in the knowledge that God is both with you and ahead of you, preparing a way, holding open a space for you to walk forward in courage. Trusting God first also allows you to let go of the need for constant external validation or support. There's freedom in knowing that your deepest struggles and highest hopes don't have to be understood by everyone around you. Trusting God is an inner sanctuary, a place you can always go to feel safe, accepted, and unconditionally loved. It's the comfort of knowing that in all seasons you are seen fully by the one who made you and knows every part of you. In times of joy, placing your trust in God deepens your gratitude. In times of sorrow, it provides a refuge where your spirit can rest. And in times of uncertainty, it's a reminder that you don't need to have all the answers to move forward. You can release your grip on certainty because you're held by a love that will never let you go. God's support is a constant, an unchanging anchor that doesn't waver based on circumstances, performance, or worthiness. It's unlike anything else in the world. In human relationships, even the most loving ones, there are natural boundaries and limitations. Emotions change, misunderstandings occur, and sometimes the support we seek just isn't available in the ways we need it most. But with God, His support is infinite, unconditional, and rooted in a love that goes beyond human comprehension. When we talk about God offering unconditional support, we're talking about a presence that doesn't judge or hold our flaws against us. It's a kind of love and support that stands with us not just in our best moments, but more importantly, in our worst. God doesn't turn away when we're angry, anxious, or even when we're doubting His plan. He doesn't flinch at the complexity of our emotions, nor does He abandon us when we feel undeserving. Instead, He stays constant, compassionate, and fully present, inviting us to lean on Him even when we can't fully understand or articulate what we're going through. God's support means that in moments of isolation or loneliness, we are never truly alone. It's a profound source of comfort to know that God's presence isn't dependent on us reaching out perfectly or expressing ourselves just right. We don't have to perform to receive His support. God sees beyond the surface. He understands our hearts, even when we can't find the words to express our struggles. He's there in the quiet, in the chaos, in every corner of our lives, extending grace and compassion beyond anything we can imagine. In those moments when we're carrying a burden we feel no one else can understand, God offers a level of empathy that goes deeper than human comprehension. He knows our history, our innermost fears, our secret hopes, and the things we can barely admit to ourselves. He understands the roots of our pain and the depth of our joy. This kind of understanding means that God's support meets us exactly where we are, without any pretense or expectation. We can be fully ourselves, our broken, hopeful, imperfect selves, and know that His support remains unshaken. God's unconditional support is also a gentle reminder that we don't have to do life alone. We don't have to bear every weight or solve every problem by ourselves. When we feel like we're at the end of our strength, God's support is there to remind us that it's okay to let go, to release the burden we're carrying into His hands. This isn't a sign of weakness. Rather, it's an invitation to experience the strength that comes from leaning on a love so profound it redefines our understanding of resilience and courage. God doesn't ask us to be superheroes. He invites us to be real, to be human, and to let Him carry what we cannot. Trusting in God's support opens us up to a freedom that's rarely found in the world. We begin to let go of the need to constantly prove ourselves, to earn love, or to seek validation in places that cannot satisfy our souls. With God, we are enough just as we are, and His support is never withdrawn. His commitment to us isn't about our actions or our perfection, but about His unchanging love. This is a love that knows every part of our story, every page of our journey, and yet remains fully invested, fully supportive through it all. This support doesn't mean our lives will be free of pain or difficulty, but it does mean that we have a steady, loving presence walking with us through every valley and standing beside us on every mountaintop. We can rest in the truth that no matter how heavy our hearts or how overwhelming our challenges, God's support is not only available but unbreakable. In Him, we find the security to keep moving forward, knowing that we are held, loved, and supported in ways that transcend any obstacle we may face. Writing as a means of self-reflection is a powerful tool for understanding ourselves on a deeper level, a quiet process of looking inward that can reveal layers of thought, emotion, and belief we may not even be aware of. When we sit down to write, we create a moment of intentional stillness, a rare pause in the busyness of life. It's in that pause that we can begin to explore who we really are, apart from external expectations, noise, or judgments. Writing allows us to capture thoughts that might otherwise slip away, helping us bring the intangible into focus. Through writing, we get to slow down and listen to ourselves. Often our minds are so full of scattered thoughts, emotions, and memories that it's hard to make sense of what's really bothering us, what's truly important, or what direction we're being called to take. Writing gives those scattered pieces a place to land, letting us examine and organize them without the pressure of immediate action or the fear of judgment. In a way, writing becomes our mirror, reflecting back our inner world and helping us see it with clarity and compassion. It's a space where we can express our rawest emotions, our fears, hopes, disappointments, and dreams without the need to censor or polish. Self-reflection through writing is also a chance to observe our patterns. As we write regularly, we start to notice recurring thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors that shape our lives. We might recognize self-limiting beliefs that have quietly influenced our choices, or identify recurring fears that keep us from moving forward. By putting our thoughts on paper, we begin to see how our inner narrative shapes our perceptions and actions. This awareness is powerful because once we see the patterns, we can begin to choose whether to embrace, challenge, or change them. Writing also gives us a safe place to explore our questions. Life is full of uncertainties, and sometimes it's hard to even voice our doubts or confusion out loud. But on paper, we can let our questions unfold without the need for immediate answers. We can ask, why am I feeling this way, or what do I really want, and allow ourselves to sit with those questions, gently exploring them. Sometimes answers come in surprising ways through the act of writing itself, as if the process of putting pen to paper opens up parts of our minds and hearts we hadn't tapped into before. Through writing, we also make room for growth and transformation. As we read back over what we've written, we can see how we've changed over time. Writing becomes a record of our journey, a testament to the resilience, learning, and growth that happen in life's ups and downs. In our own words, we see ourselves moving through seasons of struggle, discovery, and healing. We begin to notice the small victories, the times we showed courage, the moments of insight that changed us. This perspective can be deeply healing, reminding us of our strength and encouraging us to keep moving forward. Perhaps most importantly, writing as a means of self-reflection cultivates self-compassion. When we write, we're choosing to engage with ourselves gently and honestly, without hiding from our truths. We allow ourselves to feel fully, to acknowledge our mistakes without shame, and to celebrate our victories without reservation. In this space, we learn to treat ourselves as we would a close friend, with empathy, curiosity, and acceptance. Through the act of writing, we create a connection with ourselves that is rooted in authenticity and kindness. Ultimately, writing as a form of self-reflection is an invitation to know ourselves better. It's a journey inward that offers us insight, clarity, and healing. It gives us permission to explore the complexities of our hearts and minds, making peace with the parts of ourselves that are still growing. In the quiet company of our own words, we come face to face with our truest selves, embracing who we are and who we are becoming. A sacred conversation with God is an intimate, deeply personal exchange, a moment set apart from the noise and rush of daily life to speak directly to the one who knows us better than we know ourselves. Unlike any other conversation, a sacred conversation with God is not about performance or saying the right things. It's an invitation to share our heart openly and authentically, knowing that we are fully accepted. In these moments, we are invited to drop our defenses, remove the masks we often wear, and be real in a way that is rare and precious. It is a time when we can speak our truths, lay down our burdens, and let God into the most tender places within us. In a sacred conversation, there's no need to impress or to guard our words. God already knows the layers beneath our thoughts, the insecurities, fears, dreams, and hopes that we might hide even from ourselves. With God, we can speak plainly. We can admit our struggles without fear of judgment or rejection. It's a space where we don't have to come with answers or solutions. We simply come as we are, open to being held, guided, and restored. This kind of conversation is about connection, not just communication. It's a meeting place between the human and the divine, where we let God's presence wash over us and infuse us with peace. When we speak to God in this sacred way, we may find ourselves both talking and listening, pouring out our hearts while opening ourselves to the gentle whispers of His guidance. Sometimes we come with many words, expressing everything that's been weighing on us. Other times, we find ourselves in quiet surrender where words feel unnecessary because God knows the silent yearnings of our hearts. A sacred conversation with God is also a safe place to ask our deepest questions. Life can leave us grappling with confusion, pain, and a sense of longing, and in God's presence, we are free to ask why, or how, or what now. We don't need to have everything figured out or even fully understand our questions. God doesn't demand that we come with clarity, He simply invites us to come. In this holy space, our questions are not problems to be solved, but pathways to a deeper relationship with Him. Through conversation with God, we may not always receive the answers we expect, but we gain something greater, a sense of being seen, heard, and held in our vulnerability. In a sacred conversation, God also speaks to us not always through words, but through impressions, peace, and a sense of knowing. Sometimes the very act of talking to God brings a quiet reassurance, a sense that He is already working within our situation, already present in the details of our lives. This reassurance doesn't always mean that our struggles vanish or that answers appear overnight. But it does mean that we leave the conversation with a sense of peace and perspective that shifts our hearts, reminding us that we are never alone. Sacred conversations with God often open doors to healing, even if we don't enter with that intention. When we share our pain, He meets us with compassion when we bring our anger. He holds us in patience when we express our doubts. He offers understanding. This conversation becomes a space of release, where we can let go of the weight we've been carrying, surrendering our need to control, fix, or even fully understand. In this surrender, healing begins. We realize that God's love is not contingent on us having it all together. His love holds us together in every broken, messy, and beautiful moment. These sacred conversations are transformative because they remind us who we are and whose we are. When we speak to God openly, we are reminded of our identity as His beloved. We remember that we are cherished, valued, and significant not because of anything we've done, but because of who He is. This truth has the power to reshape how we see ourselves in our lives, grounding us in a love that never fades. In a world that often pulls us in many directions, a sacred conversation with God becomes a grounding force. It is a time to reconnect with our deepest self, to realign with our purpose, and to be reminded of what truly matters. It is a refuge where we can bring our whole selves, our questions, fears, and dreams, and trust that God meets us with open arms every time. Gaining clarity through silence is a transformative process, one that involves turning down the volume of the world and tuning into the still, small voice within. In our modern lives, where noise, distractions, and constant demands for our attention fill every waking moment, the idea of silence can feel uncomfortable, even daunting. Yet silence is where we can find clarity, a space free of external influences where our thoughts and feelings can settle and our true inner voice can emerge. It's within this silence that we can gently separate what we truly want and believe from what we've absorbed from others, uncovering the truth beneath the noise. In silence, we find a moment to pause, to simply be, and to reflect without the urgency that often accompanies our daily interactions. It's a time to observe our thoughts, letting them rise and fall naturally without judgment. In this stillness, we begin to see which thoughts carry weight and meaning and which are merely passing reactions. Silence becomes a mirror, reflecting back our inner state, allowing us to see patterns and beliefs that drive our choices, often without our conscious awareness. It's here that we recognize what truly matters to us, uncolored by the opinions or expectations of others. Silence also brings with it an opportunity to feel, truly feel, what's in our hearts. Often our busyness and distractions serve as a shield against facing emotions that may be uncomfortable or overwhelming. But in silence, those emotions come to the surface. This is where clarity begins, by allowing ourselves to sit with our feelings, whether they are joy, sadness, fear, or hope, without trying to escape or change them. In the quiet, we acknowledge our feelings as valid parts of our experience, seeing them clearly rather than reacting impulsively to them. This clarity of emotion empowers us to make decisions rooted in authenticity, rather than in reaction. As we sit in silence, we also start to hear the whispers of intuition, the inner guidance that is often drowned out by the noise of daily life. This intuition is not loud or forceful. It doesn't shout or demand attention. Instead, it is a subtle, knowing presence, an inner compass that gently points us toward what feels right for us. Listening to this intuitive voice requires a quiet mind, one willing to wait and receive rather than control or direct. In this stillness, we become attuned to our own inner wisdom, finding clarity not from rationalizing or overthinking, but from the intuitive insights that arise naturally when we give them space. Silence also allows us to connect with a sense of peace that goes beyond any particular situation or outcome. In the quiet, we can release the need for immediate answers and simply rest in the present moment. This presence doesn't come with explanations or solutions instead. It offers a calm reassurance that, even without having all the answers, we are okay. This deep, peaceful presence reminds us that clarity is not always about having every detail figured out, but about trusting the process and finding grounding even amid uncertainty. In this way, silence is not just a tool for clarity, it is clarity itself, a state of being fully aware, fully present, and fully open to what life is revealing to us. Furthermore, the clarity gained through silence enables us to approach our lives with greater intention. We begin to see beyond our habitual responses and recognize the choices that align with our values and purpose. Silence gives us the space to ask, what do I truly want, or what am I being called to do without the pressure to respond immediately? In this way, silence empowers us to be more intentional, making decisions that reflect who we are at our core, rather than acting from a place of stress, fear, or confusion. By grounding ourselves in strength and peace first, we develop the ability to handle our emotions in a way that prevents them from overwhelming us. Emotions can be powerful forces, and if we're feeling anxious, afraid, or uncertain, those emotions can easily cloud our judgment. When we take time to process and manage these feelings internally, we don't hand over our sense of security to others, expecting them to alleviate our discomfort. Instead, we bring a balanced perspective to the table. This approach allows us to seek advice not from a place of emotional reactivity, but from a place of composed self-awareness, open to perspectives without being swayed by every opinion. Another benefit of seeking strength and peace first is that it enhances our discernment. When we are calm and centered, we are less vulnerable to taking advice that doesn't align with our values or long-term goals. Advice, no matter how well-intentioned, may not always be what we need or want for ourselves. With an internal foundation of strength and peace, we become better equipped to evaluate advice objectively, recognizing which suggestions feel right and which ones do not serve our best interests. By doing this, we become less susceptible to doubt and confusion that can arise when we rely solely on others' opinions to make our decisions. Taking the time to strengthen ourselves and find peace also fosters a sense of personal responsibility. Rather than immediately seeking guidance and potentially shifting the responsibility for our decisions onto others, we acknowledge that we are ultimately responsible for our own path. This doesn't mean we dismiss the value of wise counsel, but it does mean we are willing to do the inner work required to make informed, authentic choices. In taking ownership of our journey, we empower ourselves to make decisions with intention, instead of waiting for someone else to show us the way. This approach builds our confidence, helping us feel capable and independent in facing life's uncertainties. When we do eventually seek human advice after finding our inner strength and peace, we are also better equipped to communicate our needs and concerns. Rather than seeking advice from a place of confusion or uncertainty, we can share our situation clearly, expressing what we're looking for and what we hope to gain. This clarity helps those we consult to provide more relevant guidance because they can better understand where we're coming from. Our interactions become more fruitful, and we're able to engage in meaningful, thoughtful discussions that lead to insights rather than just quick fixes. Finally, cultivating strength and peace first is an act of self-respect. It demonstrates that we honor ourselves enough to care for our inner well-being before placing our vulnerabilities in others' hands. When we turn inward, we're acknowledging that we hold the potential to navigate life's difficulties, even if it takes time, patience, and resilience. This respect for our own journey sets the tone for how others engage with us as we communicate that we're not simply seeking solutions, but are committed to our personal growth and self-discovery. By honoring ourselves in this way, we reinforce our self-worth, strengthening our connection to the wisdom and clarity that lies within us. In a world that often encourages us to look outward for answers, choosing to find strength and peace within is a profound, empowering choice. It's a reminder that while guidance from others can be valuable, we are our own strongest resource. We have the capacity to face challenges with courage and clarity, drawing on the quiet power within us to guide our decisions and actions. Seeking human advice then becomes a supplement to our journey rather than a crutch, as we move forward with a steady heart and mind, confident that we are capable of navigating whatever life brings our way. Faith-building practice is a deeply transformative process that goes beyond simple belief. It is a lifestyle that invites us to cultivate trust in something greater than ourselves and to live with an unwavering sense of hope and conviction. Building faith is not about adhering to a set of doctrines or following prescribed rituals, but about developing a personal, dynamic relationship with the divine, the universe, or a higher power. It is an ongoing practice of surrender, growth, and reflection that requires both time and intentionality. The act of building faith involves nurturing a deeper understanding of our purpose, the nature of the world around us, and the power of resilience and trust. Faith building requires intentional moments of connection with the divine or our sense of higher purpose. This connection can take many forms through prayer, meditation, contemplation, or simply sitting in quiet reflection. In these moments, we come face to face with our beliefs, acknowledging both our doubts and our hopes. It's in these quiet spaces that faith is allowed to grow, not because we have all the answers, but because we're open to the possibility that there is a higher plan or wisdom at work in our lives. These practices allow us to anchor ourselves in something that transcends the immediate circumstances we face, reminding us that there is a deeper meaning to the events unfolding around us. Building faith also requires us to confront and release our fears and insecurities. Faith and fear cannot coexist. Where one resides, the other fades away. Fear often comes from the uncertainty of the unknown or from past disappointments, but faith asks us to trust in the process of life, even when the outcome is unclear. A faith-building practice involves recognizing when fear takes hold and choosing to let go of the need for control. This doesn't mean ignoring fear, but rather embracing the belief that we can move forward despite it. By challenging our fears and stepping into the unknown, we create space for faith to flourish, knowing that every step forward, no matter how small, is a victory in itself. Another essential part of faith building is consistency. Just as muscles strengthen with regular exercise, so too does faith grow with consistent practice. Faith is not a one-time decision and is a daily choice to trust, to believe, and to hold on to hope in the face of adversity. This consistency doesn't mean that doubts or challenges won't arise. It means that we continue to nurture our faith even in the midst of those challenges. Building faith requires us to remain steadfast, to revisit our beliefs regularly, and to seek out opportunities to strengthen our trust, whether through reading spiritual texts, listening to inspiring messages, or surrounding ourselves with a supportive community that shares our values. Faith building also involves embracing the uncertainty of life. Our desire for certainty can often stifle faith because we want clear answers and predictable outcomes. But faith invites us to embrace the unknown and trust that even when things seem unclear or out of control, there is a greater force guiding us. By allowing ourselves to release the need to know everything, we create room for faith to grow. When we surrender to life's flow, even in the midst of hardship, we develop a deeper trust that everything is unfolding for our good. Each challenge, each moment of discomfort, becomes an opportunity to strengthen our faith and trust that there is a purpose even in our struggles. Building faith also means taking responsibility for our part in the process. Faith is not passive, it is an active decision to choose trust, positivity, and action. It's easy to fall into a passive mindset, waiting for signs, miracles, or divine intervention. But faith building requires us to participate in the process of change. This means taking intentional actions, even when the path is not fully clear, knowing that our actions are in alignment with our values and purpose. Faith isn't just about waiting for things to change, it's about believing that our choices matter and that we have the power to move through challenges with grace and perseverance. Another key aspect of faith building is gratitude. Gratitude is the practice of acknowledging the blessings we already have, which strengthens our belief in the goodness and abundance of life. When we focus on what we are thankful for, we shift our attention from lack to abundance, from scarcity to possibility. Gratitude nurtures faith by reminding us that, despite any hardships we may face, we are constantly surrounded by blessings large and small. Each moment of gratitude is an affirmation of our belief that there is always something to be thankful for, even in the most difficult times. Faith building is also about recognizing the signs and synchronicities that appear in our lives. It's easy to overlook the small miracles or the seemingly random events that happen around us. But when we start paying attention, we begin to notice how things fall into place in unexpected ways. These moments can serve as reminders that we are not alone, that we are being guided, and that the universe or the divine is working in our favor. By staying open to these signs and choosing to see them as affirmations of our faith, We deepen our connection with the divine and reinforce our belief that there is a greater purpose unfolding. Finally, faith building requires patience. Faith does not always yield immediate results, and there are times when it feels as though nothing is happening or changing. During these moments of waiting, we are called to trust the process and understand that growth takes time. Just as a seed needs time to sprout and bloom, so too does our faith need time to deepen and mature. Patience allows us to hold steady during periods of uncertainty, trusting that our faith is growing beneath the surface, even when we cannot see the fruits of our labor right away. Faith building is a sacred practice that requires dedication, self-awareness, and patience. It is a commitment to trust, to remain open, and to continue growing even when the path is unclear. As we nurture our faith, we begin to experience a profound shift in our lives. We approach challenges with courage, move through difficulties with resilience, and find peace in the knowing that we are always supported. Faith building is not just about believing in a higher power, it is about cultivating trust in the process of life, in ourselves, and in the greater good that surrounds us. It's a practice that transforms us, grounding us in the knowledge that no matter what, we are never truly alone. Faith building is not a destination, but a journey, one that unfolds day by day, moment by moment. It is a practice that calls us to surrender control, embrace uncertainty, and trust in the unseen forces that guide us. It's not about having all the answers, but about cultivating the strength to move forward, even when the answers aren't clear. As we continue to nurture our faith, we discover that it is not something we get or achieve, but something that grows within us, shaping the way we navigate the world, how we respond to challenges, and how we connect with our deepest purpose. In this practice, we learn to trust not just in the outcome, but in the process, knowing that every step is an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to become more deeply connected with the divine and with ourselves. Faith, in its truest form, gives us the courage to keep going, to believe even when we don't see, and to trust that every part of our journey is unfolding with purpose. Silence also connects us to something greater than ourselves, whether it's a sense of spirituality, connection to nature, or simply the wonder of being alive. In silence, we can feel a sense of unity with everything around us, a reminder that we are part of something vast and mysterious. This perspective shifts our focus from narrow, immediate concerns to a broader view, helping us find clarity about our place in the world and what we are here to contribute. When we touch this deeper sense of connection, our priorities realign and we find clarity about what really matters, freeing ourselves from the trivial worries that often occupy our minds. Ultimately, gaining clarity through silence is about cultivating a practice of presence. It is an invitation to step away from the noise, to let go of the need to constantly understand or control, and to simply sit with ourselves as we are. In this sacred space, answers may arise, or they may not, but either way, we come away with a sense of peace, a deeper knowing, and a renewed ability to move forward with purpose and authenticity. Silence is not an empty void, it is a wellspring of insight and understanding where clarity becomes a natural state arising from a place of inner calm and connection. Guarding against misunderstandings is essential in building strong, healthy relationships and maintaining a sense of trust and respect with others. Misunderstandings often arise from assumptions, incomplete communication, and unchecked emotions. They can lead to frustration, conflict, and even lasting resentment if left unaddressed. Guarding against them requires us to be mindful, patient, and intentional in how we communicate and interact. It's not just about avoiding conflict, but about fostering an environment where openness, clarity, and mutual understanding can thrive. At the core of guarding against misunderstandings is the willingness to listen. True listening goes beyond simply hearing words. It involves paying attention to the person's tone, body language, and the feelings behind their words. When we listen with the intent to understand rather than to respond, we create space for the other person to express themselves fully. This depth of listening helps prevent misunderstandings because it encourages us to grasp the true message and emotions of the other person. It's a conscious choice to focus not only on what is being said, but on the whole context, which can reveal underlying concerns, insecurities, or values that might otherwise be missed. Guarding against misunderstandings also requires clear, respectful communication. This means choosing our words carefully, considering how they might be received, and speaking in a way that is direct yet compassionate. When we are clear and intentional with our language, we reduce the chances of our message being misinterpreted. Taking the time to clarify our intentions, express our feelings openly, and use I statements rather than placing blame can go a long way in fostering understanding. By owning our experiences and perspectives without projecting them onto others, we allow for more honest, productive conversations that minimize misinterpretation. Another important part of guarding against misunderstandings is avoiding assumptions. Assumptions are often based on our own experiences, expectations, or beliefs, and they can color how we perceive others' words and actions. When we assume, we take mental shortcuts, filling in gaps in information with our own interpretations. This can lead to misunderstandings because we're acting on incomplete or biased information rather than the actual reality of the situation. Guarding against assumptions means pausing to ask questions, seeking clarification, and giving others the benefit of the doubt. Rather than jumping to conclusions, we can practice curiosity, giving people the opportunity to explain themselves before forming judgments. Patience is another essential aspect of preventing misunderstandings. Often, misunderstandings occur when emotions run high or when we feel rushed or pressured to respond quickly. When we take a moment to step back and gather our thoughts, we give ourselves a chance to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Pausing allows us to consider the other person's perspective, to check in with our own emotions, and to ensure that what we say truly reflects our intentions. This small act of patience can prevent many misunderstandings, allowing us to approach situations with a calm and clear mind. Empathy plays a crucial role as well. When we put ourselves in the other person's shoes, we begin to see things from their perspective, which can bridge the gap between different viewpoints. Empathy allows us to recognize that others may interpret situations differently based on their own experiences, emotions, and worldview. By acknowledging these differences, we approach conversations with a spirit of understanding rather than defensiveness. This empathy doesn't mean we have to agree, but it means that we are more likely to respond in a way that respects the other person's reality, reducing the potential for misinterpretation. Another part of guarding against misunderstandings is learning to communicate openly about difficult topics. When we avoid addressing uncomfortable issues or sidestep challenging conversations, misunderstandings can build up over time, often leading to larger conflicts. Addressing misunderstandings directly, but with kindness and respect, helps clear the air. It can be challenging, but it shows the other person that you value the relationship enough to work through discomfort and seek understanding. This openness fosters trust, as it shows a commitment to honesty and resolution, even when the conversation is difficult. Finally, self-awareness is key in preventing misunderstandings. Our own emotions, biases, and past experiences shape how we interpret and respond to others. By becoming more aware of our triggers, communication style, and reactions, we can better manage our part in interactions. Self-awareness allows us to recognize when we might be projecting our own feelings onto someone else, or when we're allowing past experiences to influence our perception of a current situation. With this awareness, we can take responsibility for our part in the interaction, approaching it with a clear mind and open heart, rather than letting our own unresolved issues cloud our understanding. Guarding against misunderstandings is an ongoing process, a commitment to actively work toward understanding others and being understood ourselves. It involves a blend of listening deeply, communicating clearly, practicing patience, and fostering empathy. While misunderstandings may still arise, our intentional efforts to prevent them build a foundation of respect and trust that can withstand occasional missteps. By valuing clarity and connection, we nurture relationships that are resilient, compassionate, and built on a genuine understanding of one another. Finding strength and peace before seeking human advice is a powerful practice that roots us in our own sense of calm and clarity. When faced with challenges, our first instinct is often to reach out for support, hoping that others can provide answers, guidance, or even validation. While there is great value in the wisdom of trusted people in our lives, turning inward and connecting with our own source of strength and peace allows us to approach our circumstances with a sense of stability and resilience that isn't dependent on external opinions. By first finding our own grounding, we're better equipped to discern which advice resonates with us and aligns with our true needs and values. Before reaching out, taking time to cultivate inner strength helps us become our own anchor. Inner strength is more than just mental toughness. It's a steady sense of self that reassures us, even in the midst of difficulties, that we have what it takes to face whatever comes our way. Finding this strength means recognizing our own resilience and reminding ourselves of the challenges we've already overcome. This self-reliance doesn't mean we must tackle everything alone, but it encourages us to look inward, reminding ourselves that we have untapped resources within that can support us. Building this inner strength fosters confidence, helping us approach challenges from a place of calm instead of desperation or fear. Seeking peace before seeking human advice is equally important. Peace is what allows us to see our situation clearly, free from the frantic energy that often accompanies problems or major life decisions. When we take a moment to quiet our minds through prayer, meditation, or simply sitting in silence, we create a space where we can listen to our own thoughts and feelings without distraction. This inner peace serves as a filter, giving us the mental and emotional clarity to identify what truly matters. Instead of rushing to others out of worry or urgency, we can approach our challenges with a centered mindset, grounded in peace, which makes the process of seeking advice more intentional and purposeful.